Good morning. Today we're going to be doing lesson 3.2, the second lesson of chapter 2. You might remember from previous units, either this year or last year, the definition of energy, which is the ability to make things move or change. And today's lesson is going to focus a lot on the energy that's transferred between organisms. In the article, we read that energy is required for reproduction. We also read about energy storage molecules. So in the article, we learned that the resource population gives their energy storage molecules to the consumer population. The consumer population is the organism that is eating or getting energy from the resource population. Whether it's through finding food, traveling long distances, or fighting, the work that the organisms need to do in order to reproduce requires energy, or the ability to make things move or change. Energy storage molecules are molecules that organisms can use to release the energy needed to survive. Today we're going to use the population and resources sim, and this sim is a scientific model that's going to help us investigate ecosystems. It's based on how real populations interact. Let's watch a video about how the sim works.
This is the Populations and Resources sim. You'll use it to investigate how different populations interact in an ecosystem. Let's explore three populations intro mode. At the top of the screen is the Tracking Activity dropdown. You can use it to highlight all organisms that are eating, reproducing, or dying. In the top right is the control for speed. You can slow down the sim to better observe the interaction of the ecosystem. Let's zoom in and tap on an individual organism to track its activity. A pop-up will appear to provide more information about what the organism is doing. On the right is a control panel that you can use to add or remove organisms. At the bottom left is the icon for the food web overlay. Press on it to see a food web for the sim's ecosystem. Let's press on Analyze in the top left to review data about the ecosystem. The graph shows how the sizes of the different populations changed over time. The panel on the right provides more detailed data about the populations. You can use the blue scrubber bar or press the replay button to play back the action. This sim will help you figure out how ecosystems work.
Okay, so this is just a general overview of the sim. We'll get into a little bit more
This is the
detail
Populations and Resources sim.
as we move forward. So for this next activity, you're going to use the sim to gather evidence about what happens to an organism's energy storage molecules when they do certain things. You're going to use the sim in the mode called Three Populations mode, and let's take a closer look at the features you're going to use. In this mode, you'll notice that each organism has a tank full of an orange substance. So if you see each of these organisms, you see that they have this orange tank. And this orange tank represents each organism's energy storage molecules. So you can see here that this wee bug has about a half full tank, but this guy here, I think he's a furbill, has almost a full tank. The plant here has a completely full tank. So that tank indicates how much energy the organism currently has. If you press on an organism, a window will pop up with information about that organism's level of energy storage molecules. You can get evidence about what is happening to their level of energy storage molecules by looking at the tank or the number in the orange circle. Each represents the organism's total energy storage molecules. So when we click on an organism, we're going to see what the organism is doing. This one happens to be eating. This tells us whether the energy storage molecules are increasing or decreasing. This orange number is the actual number of energy storage molecules, and you can also watch their tank. Their tank will either go up or down depending on what is happening in terms of the energy storage molecules. So when we use the sim in a moment, this is what you want to be focusing on. The tracking activity menu at the top left lets you choose whether to highlight organisms that are eating, reproducing, or dying. Go ahead and go to Google Classroom and open number 2 for today, which is investigating energy in the sim. And the directions here say we're going to use the sim to investigate what happens to an organism's energy storage molecules when it reproduces. So Google Classroom. And number 2 for today. Use the sim to investigate what happens to an organism's energy storage molecules when it reproduces. So we're going to use the sim to investigate what happens to an organism's energy storage molecules when it reproduces, and then answer the questions below. If you cannot use the sim, watch a video of someone completing the investigation. Okay, so we're going to want to go back to the assignment here and click the link for Amplify. That's going to take you to the sim. And we are using the sim, but if you get confused and you want to watch somebody besides me doing the sim, you're welcome to click the link there. So number 1, launch the populations and sim populations and resources simulation. Select the 3 populations mode. I'm going to go ahead and set up a split screen. I think it would be easier. So I'm going to choose this mode. Select an animal and follow it until it reproduces. Focus on what happens to its energy storage molecules when it reproduces. You can also use the tracking activity menu to select organisms that are reproducing. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that I can really get a good look at the organisms. I'm going to put on reproducing. And I remember in the video they told me I could slow them down, so that way they're not moving so quickly. And so any of the organisms that are highlighted are what's being tracked. So that's what's reproducing. So I'm going to click on these guys here, reproducing. Oh, and I missed it. So I got to find another one. Here's one here. Nope, missed that one too.
Is that messing you up?
All right, so this one's eating. Let's give it a minute and see if we can catch him when he's reproducing. I'm just kind of walking around. It's eating. Just ate that little wee bug. Now, let's see if we can find a different one. So our plant here is reproducing. Take a look at the energy storage molecules and what's happening to them. It did say to select an animal, so we need to still find an animal.
I can turn them off.
Oh boy.
What?
There we go. These 2 organisms are reproducing. What happened to their energy storage molecules? Let's see if we can find another one. There we go. Oh, that happened very quickly. Watch the energy storage molecules. And we'll find one more. Sure if you caught that one. Again, you want to pay attention to what happened to the energy storage molecules. All right, so step 3, follow at least 2 more animals and observe what happens to their energy storage molecules as they reproduce. You could have taken a look at the animal's energy storage tank as well as the animal's pop-up indicator, and then answer the questions below. If you're still confused on what's going on here, you can watch this video down here. It also gives you some examples of what's going on during the reproduction, or you can just open up your sim and go ahead and play around and see if you can notice what's happening when the organisms are reproducing. And then you should answer your question here. Describe what happens to an organism's energy storage molecules when it reproduces. And then based on what you have learned from the reproduction and energy article set, why do you think this happens? You can review the article again to be more sure about your response. So this question is asking, whatever happens to their energy storage molecules here, they either go up or down. Why do you think that happens based on what you read yesterday in that article? And I'll kind of give you a hint. If we go back to our Google Slides here, slide 4 really kind of gives you the answer in the upper part here. So that will also be helpful to you when answering the second question here. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'll be more than happy to Google Meet with you today. Have a great day.